So guys, welcome back to part 2 of the English TV deal experiment in FM20. Of course, last episode we ran through kind of the overview of everything that we changed, what we're going to be looking at, and we looked at seasons 1, 5 and 10. And for this one here, we've got seasons 15 and 20 left. And I can tell you right now before we get going, this is where all the interesting stuff really begins to take place in terms of the weird and wonderful stuff that happens in the databases. So I do hope you enjoy the episode, guys. Let's get into season 15. So then guys, on to season 15. We're getting towards the end of the experiment here, and we're already seeing quite a lot of new things beginning to happen with this TV deal as a result. And with it now being 2034, we're 15 years in, there's been some big changes taking place still kind of occurring within the English leagues now. The Premier League have actually seen their wages and so on actually kind of level out now. They're now only spending 101 million, so it's actually had a very slight decrease compared to when we last looked. And additionally, the average amount of transfers being spent overall has actually dropped quite considerably, only 1.05 billion. However, the highest transfer done by one single club in the Premier League has gone up. It's gone above the 200 million mark at long last, and it was £207 million. Additionally, the average amount of foreign imports has actually lowered down a little bit to now only 48.6%, but the Premier League facilities have improved this time around. Their training levels have gone up to superb from excellent, and their youth have been maintained at excellent. So overall, it is an increase for the training facilities for the Premier League. The Championship has kind of levelled off as well. They're spending now roughly just under £25 million. And the highest transfer, though, has gone up to 30 million. So it's kind of close to what it was originally at the season 5 mark. It's gone up quite a bit from what it was in season 10 when it was only 19.5. The average kind of spend overall for the league is now 319 million. And the average amount of foreign players being brought in for the league is about 29.4%. The facilities, though, for the Championship have also increased as well, with now the training and youth for the Championship being both at excellent, which is an increase from great in the youth facilities to excellent, and then the training has maintained the same rating. League 1 has gone up slightly in comparison to what it was. They're now paying on average £9.5 million per annum for their wages. The highest transfer fee has maintained roughly the same amount at £11.25 million. The average transfer spend by the clubs in the league is now £86.8 million. And the average amount of foreign players being brought in is 14.2%. The facilities, though, for League 1 have remained exactly the same, both at great for training and youth. League 2, however, has seen another slight increase, a very, very small amount anyway. Their annual wages have gone up to about £5.5 million per year per club. And the highest transfer fee for a team has increased slightly to 5.25 million. The average amount of transfers being spent by the clubs overall is 21.9 million, and the average amount of foreign players has actually dropped a little bit to 7.2%. The facilities, again, much like League 1, have stayed exactly the same, and they're now sitting at great and good for training and youth as it was beforehand. The Vanarama National has seen a very slight increase. It's pretty similar to what it was before. The annual wages are sitting at about 4.5 million per club. And the highest transfer fee paid by Vanarama National team is now £3.1 million, which was Plymouth in the Vanarama National. The average amount of fees being spent by all clubs for their transfers is 7.36 million, and the average amount of foreign players being brought in is 2.4%, which is a very slight increase from last time. The facilities as well, similar to League 1 and League 2, have stayed exactly the same, both on average. Vanarama North has stayed pretty similar as well. Their average wages are at 1.774. The highest fee spent on one player actually dropped slightly to £550,000, and then the average total amount of transfers being spent by the whole league dropped as well to only 1.2 million, as did the foreign import amount, only being at 0.8%. The facilities as well for the Vanarama North dropped as well to being below average for both the training and youth facilities. It's the first example of us actually having facilities dropping slightly. This, however, was because quite a few smaller sides are actually in the league now from the leagues below. The Vanarama South, however, had a slight increase. Their average wages went up slightly from 1.3 million as what it was in year 10 to being 1.5 million in this year now. The highest fee being spent on one player was £550,000. And the average amount being spent across the league was just under 1.4 million. The amount of foreign players being brought in was only at 0.6%, but it is an increase on what it was before when it was only 0.4%. The facilities, though, for the Vanarama South have increased slightly. The training has remained the same at below average, but their youth has increased as well to being below average. So at the moment, the Vanarama North and South are very, very similar. As a result of that, covers all the finances for year 15. I'm going to go into some of the strange occurrences that have gone on in this year and some really obscene results kind of going on with certain clubs. So the first thing we'll take a look at in year 15 is the Premier League here in the second database that I have. And essentially you'll notice with the past winners on the right hand side that we have quite a good Chelsea in this save here. Essentially Chelsea, who are still managed by Frank Lampard, have become arguably one of the best teams in world football in this database. They are absolutely disgusting. Let's have a quick look at the past winners. They've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Premier League titles since the beginning of the game. So they've won over half the Premier League titles available for them to win. And it's not only the Premier League that they've won, they've also won some Champions Leagues under Frank as well. He's won, how many is that? 1, 2, he's won 4 Champions Leagues as well in 15 years with Chelsea. But it's not only Frank there as well at the moment. He's got quite a few people. He's also got Gianfranco Zola as his assistant. And he's also, if we scroll down a little bit down here, he's got John Terry as his under-23s manager. And Claude Makelele's there as well, just to add to the party. And I believe he also has Hilario as well, who I'm pretty sure he played with at Chelsea. And he also, of course, has Petr Cech. So basically just getting the old team back together, essentially, is what Frank Lampard's doing. Another thing I'll just quickly show you as well in this database, because we haven't really looked at them very much as of yet, is Bury. They've not done too badly in this. They've kind of dropped down and they've bounced back, which is kind of what I've found they've done in most of the databases, that they kind of drop either to the Vanarama National or the National North, and then they kind of sometimes find their way back, or they get stuck all in the Vanarama National. In this case, they've got into League 2. They've been in League 2 now for 2 seasons by the looks of it, but it's not really where they are in the leagues that's kind of interesting. It's their managers that has interested me here. Because if we have a look on their list of managers, but for me, it's the fact they've got Gary Neville and Phil Neville, because of course one Neville brother's not good enough, is it? You have to get both to manage you, and in both cases, they were pretty awful. They both lasted... Well, actually, no. Gary lasted a year longer than Phil, but they weren't brilliant, to be totally honest with you. In this database, there's some other strange managerial appointments that's gone on. Of course, what we've seen so far, to be honest, is that some of the most weirdest things have been managerial appointments. One that's been quite refreshing to see, because I haven't seen it happen very often in the game, to be honest, is with Liverpool. They've actually got Steven Gerrard as their manager. He's not an interim, he's actually there on a permanent basis, and he's been there now for about 4 years in game. He's actually done all right as a manager, which is quite strange because often Gerrard really struggles, I find, in the game. We also have another weird one, and that is Marquinhos, of course, former PSG player, very, very good Brazilian centre-back in his day. And in this one here, he is the manager of Sunderland. He was formerly at Almeria in Spain, and now he's the Sunderland boss in the Championship. I don't know what would make him want to go to Sunderland, unless perhaps he wants to get on the Amazon documentary. That's all I can think of, to be honest, with Marquinhos here. Just a very weird appointment, that one is. Now, the final thing I'll show you is in the 5th database that we have. There's a few weird things that have gone on in this database. There really is. This one seems to be where all the weird stuff kind of just happens. It's the 5th database I've found. In this one, we'll start off with some of the lower league English teams. And the first one we're going to go and visit is Millwall, who have randomly appointed Gigi Wijnaldum as their manager, which it doesn't really strike me as the type of player who's going to go and become a football manager. And not only that, I mean, I know he's a caretaker manager for them, but regardless, the fact that they've got a tiki-taka type of football manager at Millwall, who are renowned for their rough, kind of hard man type of football, and they're playing tiki-taka, is just hilarious. It really is. I just couldn't ever imagine that. It's Millwall, for Christ's sake. I mean, so all you need to say is just Millwall, and you just instantly think punch-ups and rides, to be totally honest. Not tiki-taka, nice little intricate little triangles and trying to play your way through the defence, essentially, is it? Just bizarre. Really is. But Gigi Wijnaldum, Millwall boss. Now, if we go to a level below the Championship and go to League 1, we will find Bradford City, who have got Koke as their manager. I don't know what it is, but teams which you don't really expect, or at least levels of the kind of the Football League, you don't really expect to be kind of having their kind of tiki-taka, like the Spanish kind of traditional way of playing. You've got one in Millwall, and you've got Bradford City, who again, like you kind of think of teams who are going to be quite renowned for being rough football teams. You kind of think of your Millwalls, Bradfords, Leeds, teams like that. I don't know, of course, Leeds have kind of foregone that stereotype with Marcelo Bielsa in real life, but Bradford appointing Koke, it's just so weird. It really is. The final manager we'll take a look at before we take a look at one other team is we're going to look at Arteta, as Arteta in this has become very, very good. He's currently the Barcelona manager, having done a really, really good job at Arsenal for about 10, 12 years or so. If we have a look at his milestones, he won quite a lot as Arsenal boss. He won 2 Premier Leagues. He won 3 Europa Leagues he won for them. and the Carabao Cup as well, and then he won a few Super Cups, etc. So he did a pretty good job there, and then he's become Barcelona boss, where he's won 3 La Ligas already in 3 years. So he's very much becoming the new Pep Guardiola that everyone kind of expects him to be. So it's quite interesting to see actually that happening, because on most occasions, Arteta is almost always rubbish, if I'm honest. It's very rare you see him do really, really well. So it's actually quite nice to see this from him, to kind of see kind of what people thought might happen in real life is happening in the game. So that is quite good to see. The final thing though we'll look at in terms of this database is just regarding the Premier League and regarding Norwich City, who you kind of look at them here under Curtis Davies. They don't look particularly amazing, but they've actually become Europa League champions, have Norwich City in this database. Very bizarrely, just kind of out of nowhere. They've won in 2031-32 because I believe they got taken over by a tycoon in the game. If you look at their landmarks, yeah, they got a new tycoon earlier on in around 2028. So they've been spending a lot of money in this save. If we have a look at some of their transfer history and kind of go back and look at past windows, you can see they spent 100 million here. They spent 171 million here. 194, like the idea of 200 million here is just ridiculous. It really is. And I think this is the season where the owner came in, so they didn't spend as much. But the idea of Norwich City out there spending 200 mil is just quite comical. But seems to work because they've got a Europa League under their belt. They've had Champions League football. So, I mean, as someone who visits Norwich quite a lot, it's quite nice to see them doing quite well. But that just about wraps up year 15. I say there's quite a lot of interesting things kind of beginning to happen. Overall, English football has been quite dominant, even with this new TV deal. So it'll be interesting to see once we get to year 20 if that is still the case. So we'll go forward to year 20 and take a look at the figures and everything for the final year of the experiment. So then here we are at the final season then of our experiment. So we are in 2039, and I can confirm at the end of this there have still been some increases in the final season for the finances and for the facilities for the various different leagues. So obviously the TV deal, we've seen obviously a massive increase in finances across the leagues, but for the final season, the Premier League teams kind of have been spending relatively similar kind of levels in terms of their overall wages. It has risen ever so slightly for season 20 up to 104 million per year. Additionally, the highest transfer, however, has dropped quite significantly down to 124 million. It still is very high, but is a lot lower. The overall transfer spend, however, has gone back up to £1.3 billion. So it's gone up by quite a significant amount, around about £250-300 million. The number of foreign imports has increased as well, up to 53.4%. And also the facilities for the Premier League have increased. They are now sitting at both superb for the training and youth facilities across the Premier League. The Championship saw a very slight increase as well. Their wages went up to £25.4 million. And the highest transfer across the league was back up to roughly what it was in the very early days in Season 5, with it now being at £38 million. The overall average kind of spend across the Championship, though, was £338.6 million. And the number of foreign imports did drop slightly to 27.2%. The facilities, though, across the board for the Championship did remain the same. So they both were sitting at, for the end of the experiment, at excellent for both the training and youth facilities. For League 1, their average wages stayed exactly the same as they basically were in Season 5, with it being at £9.5 million. And the highest transfer fee spent on one player did go up ever so slightly and did beat the record, now sitting at £14 million for Season 20. The average amount spent on transfers overall by all clubs rose to 93.2 million. And the number of foreign players being imported was 14.2%, so roughly the same as what it was in Season 15. The facilities, however, did improve ever so slightly, with the training level increasing from what it was as great up to excellent in Season 20, and in the youth stayed the same at great as well. For League 2, the wages actually dropped ever so slightly down to 5.4 million, but it's basically the same as what it was in Season 15. And the highest transfer fee for one player did actually drop down to 3.9 million. The overall kind of transfer spend did stay roughly the same at 21.4 million, and the foreign import actually went up significantly, up to 10.2%. The facilities, however, for League 2 did stay exactly the same at great and good for training and then youth. For the Vanarama National, the wages actually dropped quite a significant amount, actually down to 4.1 million. And their highest transfer fee did drop as well, down to 2.2 million. Additionally, the overall kind of transfer spend by all the clubs dropped as well, down to 6.14 million. And the number of foreign imports dropped as well, down to 1.6. The facilities, however, across the Vanarama National did actually go up ever slightly, with the training raising up to good and then the youth staying the same at average. Overall, the Vanarama National kind of did drop kind of across the board in most areas there. The Vanarama North did see its wages kind of level out at 1.66 million, so roughly the same as what it was in season 15, whereas their highest transfer fee did increase slightly up to £725,000 for one player. And the overall amount of money being spent on transfers across the league also went up slightly to 1.4 million. The number of foreign imports stayed roughly the same at 1%, but the facilities for the Vanarama North did increase for both of them, with the training and youth going up to adequate in both. The Vanarama South, however, found itself kind of level out, with the wages staying basically the same at 1.52 million. The highest transfer fee spent on one player was at 475,000, which is pretty similar to what it was before in season 15. The overall transfers being spent across the league, however, did drop significantly down to £990,000, so actually below £1 million overall. The foreign import as well was very low at only 0.2%, and its facilities stayed level at below average from across the board. So overall, what we can see from this whole experiment, because that is obviously the end of it in terms of the finances, is that levels of their finances across the entire English leagues did increase, regardless of what league it was. Of course, we saw, for example, the leagues such as the Championship and the League One kind of had the major changes occur for them, and their facilities really improved quite significantly. But across the board, it's been very positive. There's more money floating around, there's more money being spent, and the facilities are improving. And also there's more foreign players, which is always a good thing, because arguably you're going to get different types of playing styles. So it is good to see, at least on the finance side of things for the game, it simulates it quite interestingly if there was more money available in the TV deal that the clubs would then spend it. But with that all kind of taken care of, let's take a look at our final season and see any of the final weird things and interesting things that have taken place for season 20 in 2039. So in terms of the weird and wonderful things that have gone on in these various databases at the final season of the experiment, there are a few little interesting things I do want to show you before we finish off. So this is database 1 here. And one of the weird things just to kind of mention in this database is something for all the Scotland fans out there. I mean, it's not quite perfect, but you've got something very much to look forward to in about 20 years nearly, as you managed to make it to a World Cup final. Yep, Scotland are World Cup runners-up in 2038. Unbelievable, to be totally honest, the idea of Scotland. Scotland's league is loaded into this save, so it may well be why they've done quite well. I do wonder if where the facilities and so on across England have been improved so much, it may have helped young Scottish talent develop as well. So it's quite interesting seeing that, the fact that both England and Scotland have done well internationally in these saves. With the second database that we have here, it's quite interesting seeing how good kind of Chelsea got on under Frank Lampard. Because when we looked a couple of years ago, Frank Lampard was doing very, very well. And he has continued to do very well. If we go to Chelsea, he is still at Chelsea, but he has still won a few more different competitions since we were last with them. If we have a look on the competitions page, they've obviously won the Premier League again. They've literally just won it. And he also managed to win another League Cup as well. So he hasn't won a huge amount more since. But the interesting thing isn't actually so much with their competition wins, but with the facilities. If we go and have a look, we can see that Chelsea is due to move at the end of this season, so 25th of June 2040, into the newly built Frank Lampard Stadium. So the likelihood is that Frank Lampard will still be Chelsea manager by the time this stadium is built, which is just fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen it where when the stadium that has been built for them they're still manager, if that makes sense. So it's quite interesting to see. If we have a look as well in the Hall of Fame, you'll see that Frank Lampard has done very well. He's up into 4th on the lists on here, with his 9 Premier League wins as Chelsea boss, his 7 domestic cups and his 11 other club trophies, of which 5 are Champions Leagues. It's really, really just amazing to actually see how well he's done. He's almost reckoned to be as good as Ferguson in this, and the likelihood is if we kept going, he probably would overtake him as well. There are a few other interesting things that's going on with the Premier League in this as well. If we have a look at the profile on here and have a look at the past winners, you'll see that in terms of recent winners, we've got Everton and Tottenham on the list as well. And it's not only with the Premier League that they've been winning. Oh no. They've also both won a Champions League. Everton has won 2 of the last 4. They have become really, really good. They got a tycoon takeover recently, I believe. We have a look. Yeah, around about... In fact, actually, no, quite a while ago, 14 years ago, they got a tycoon takeover and he's really been pumping money in. And Everton, and it's happened to Tottenham as well, have both become very, very good teams in this as a result. So yeah, we've got multiple winners from the English League of Man City, Chelsea and then Everton and Spurs for the Champions League. Didn't think I'd be saying those two names, especially not Everton anyway. The final thing though with this database is with Mitrovic. So of course, current Fulham striker in real life. If I put his name in here, I may have spelled it wrong slightly there. If we go Mitro, there he is, Alexander, here we go. He's now manager of Reading. Much like how we saw with Zlatan earlier on in the experiment, the idea of Mitrovic as a manager is just beyond crazy. He's a nut job. He's crazy, and just him managing football teams is something I could never imagine happening. And I do like the fact he plays Route 1 football as well. Just very, very bizarre. It really is. But I don't think he's done overly brilliantly as a manager, to be totally honest. I think he's been sacked more times than actually done well. Yeah, he got sacked at Colchester, sacked at Oxford. He managed at Shamrock but chose to leave there. So yeah, he's not doing brilliantly, but he's now a football manager. In database 3, however, there's something actually, as a Manchester United fan, in addition to being a Maidstone fan, that has been quite nice to see. And that is that Manchester United have been pretty decent. They've won quite a few league titles. And really surprisingly, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still there. I can't really believe that he's still here in it. Although his milestone's been, he was a bit bugged. But although I'd like him to do well in real life, I don't ever think he'll be a long-term manager for Man U. I really don't. I don't think he's quite there tactically to kind of be a long-term manager for United. I mean, it'd be nice if he was. I have to see, but I don't think he probably will be. But in this, he has lasted the whole 20 years at the club, and he's done very well, and he's done very, very well. If we look at the Hall of Fame, he's up there in 4th place. He's nearly caught up to Alex Ferguson, actually. So it'd be interesting if he ever actually overtakes him in it. Additionally, you can see that Julian Nagelsmann in this one is disgustingly good. He's currently the Man City boss in the game. He was formerly at Barcelona, and as you can see here, he won 12 La Ligas in addition to 5 Champions Leagues. So he's been very good as Julian Nagelsmann, and now he's currently at Man City, and now they are now winning the league. So he may become Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's undoing at Manchester United in this database here. So the 4th database that we have is the one where Pep Guardiola was disgusting in it, was absolutely disgusting, and I can confirm he is still very much disgusting. He's still at Man City, and they have still been absolutely destroying English football and just world football. They have managed to win, since we last looked in season 15, they have now managed to win every league title since season 15. They have won 18 out of 20 Premier Leagues. I have never seen a team become so dominant in England, and it's not only the Premier League they've been winning. As we mentioned before, they have since won another 2 Champions Leagues. So Pep Guardiola is beyond doubt in this database the best football manager to have ever lived on this planet. Essentially, he obviously starts, I believe, at the beginning of the game just below Ferguson in terms of the overall points. And in this one, he finishes over double. He finishes on 12,500 points, which I have never seen so high for one manager in only 20 years. I've seen it when kind of people have done massively long into the future experiments and you get like an AI kind of regen manager who does really well with one club, but I've never seen a real life manager do this well. He's won 20 Premier League trophies, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's not only 20 Prems, it's 10 Champions Leagues. It's beyond just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it at all. Cannot believe it. So here we are then at our final database with database 5 in 2039. And this, of course, was the one that had some really weird ongoings on it kind of throughout most of the experiment. And even at the final season, I can confirm there's still some weird damn stuff going on as well. So we'll start first of all with the Premier League, which has currently got, if we go and look at Manchester United, Pep Guardiola as manager. Yep, you heard me right. Pep Guardiola, manager of Manchester United. Because, of course, that's just what will happen, apparently. And it's also worth noting, though, that in this database, Pep Guardiola also became Liverpool boss and was obviously also Man City boss. So he just decided that he wanted to go and manage as many different Northern English rivals as he could in Liverpool, Manchester United and Manchester City. Next, though, however, with the Premier League is with Chelsea. So in this one, Frank Lampard didn't last particularly long as manager. He only lasted 2 years. But currently, when we look at them, we have Virgil van Dijk as manager, and he's actually turned out to be a pretty decent manager in the game. His stats are decent for an actual manager, especially one who was a former player, as you can see his attributes on the screen here. But his actual milestones and his kind of career trajectory has actually been pretty good. He started off quite low. He started off in Venezia after he retired at Inter, went to Cairns in France, Osasuna, Stade Reims, and then he got offered the Roma job where he's just won Serie A about 2 years ago, and then he's gone to Chelsea where he's now managed to win a Super Cup and that he's just won the Premier League with Chelsea. So to be honest to him, fair play. I also love the fact that he plays gegenpressing football, of course, following on in Klopp's footsteps. So that's really quite good to be able to see that he's kind of picked up the things that he learnt while at Liverpool. The other major kind of thing with managers is obviously this was the database where Arteta was following in Guardiola's footsteps and went to Barcelona and was doing very, very well. He decided to take that one step further as he is now Manchester City boss. That's correct. He has decided to do exactly what Pep did. It went Barcelona and then Man City. He didn't do Bayern in between. But he was actually sacked from Barcelona, I think really quite harshly, as he won, as you can see, quite a lot of various tournaments and competitions while Barca boss, but they did sack him in 2037 after they didn't win the league. About 2 weeks after that though, Man City hired him and he's since won another Premier League and a Champions League as well. And if we look at the Hall of Fame list for the managers on here, we can see that Arteta has done pretty damn well and is in 9th place on the list, which for a manager of his age is pretty good going, especially one who had to manage Arsenal. I mean, no one wants to have to do that, do they? Let's be honest. One thing though that I'm really, really pleased about in this database, and it's nothing to do with managers or anything like that, it's to do with my beloved Maidstone, is the fact that in one of the databases out of all 5, they have actually reached League 2. It is the only one to have done it, and I am really, really pleased. I never quite understand, they're so rubbish when they're managed by the AI, it normally seems. But this is the only one where they've actually made it to League 2 out of all 5 across the 20 seasons. They eventually got promoted to the Vanarama National in 2024, and then again they got promoted from the Vanarama National in 2034, and they've been in League 2 ever since. So fair play to Maidstone, very pleased to see it. Their wage bill, however, does make me laugh. So if we look at the stats for them and go and have a look, so the average wages and so on, if we go down to see Maidstone in 16th position, they're spending £5 million a year on players, which is crazy to even think, because I mean, my Maidstone saving stones rolling on up, I think our wage bill is about £500,000 a year, and we're only in the tier below. And their best player is this lad here, who would walk into my team and probably destroy the Vanarama National, and he's on £6,000 a week. I think our most expensive player in the Vanarama National in the actual stones rolling up save is on about £1,000 a week, or £1,200. So yeah, just completely crazy. It really is. So guys, that just about wraps up the experiment here today. I think we can safely say we've seen quite a lot of different things that we're not probably used to seeing in Football Manager, that's for sure. With the finances all going skyrocketing for all of the clubs, regardless whatever league it is, and the fact that facilities as well have all improved so significantly, regardless of whatever league it is really fascinating to have seen just the effect that this TV deal that we've implemented has had on all of the various clubs across English football. It's also really interesting to see that despite the fact that the Premier League has kind of had less money available to it, the teams at the top traditionally, in the normal top 6 sides I guess you would say, have all remained so dominant within English football and across world football as well. I mean, we think of the likes of Man City, Chelsea, especially in these saves, United, Liverpool, they've all done really well. We've even seen the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham getting titles under their belt. We have seen the odd exception, the fact that Everton, for example, have got a couple of Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues as well, although that is probably more so to do with a tycoon takeover than the actual TV deal. But it still is interesting to see that regardless of the money that we're taking out, the top 6 still kind of retain that tight grip over football just in general. Still though, regardless of the fact that the results within club football didn't really change that much, we still got to see that at least the England international side did improve with at least a World Cup and Euros on a couple of occasions under their belt. And we even got to see a fact that Scotland performed very well in one of the most recent seasons, making a World Cup final. Again, whether or not that's to do with the improvements to the facilities and so on, we'll never probably quite know, but it's still good to see that those teams performed quite as well as they did. Still though guys, before I finish up though, I do just want to say a massive thank you to my friend Curtis, who was a major help with getting the animations done for the State Sports News bits at the beginning of these episodes. He helped with all of the animations so on, and I think they came out really well. Hopefully you guys like them as well. Also, I do hope you enjoyed the little sketch I'd made of the State Sports News with me as the incompetent presenter. That might become a bit more of a recurring thing, possibly if I do more experiments, etc. later on down the line. it was a good bit of fun to make, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You have to kind of forgive State Sports News for his lack of presenting abilities at the moment. Hopefully, as time goes on, he may become a little less incompetent. We'll have to wait and see. Still though, guys, I do hope you've enjoyed the experiment today. If you have, please do chuck a like on it to let me know. If you want me to do possibly future ones going on, do also let me know of either any ideas or anything like that. I have got a couple planned, which I'm kind of working on the databases at the moment. They will possibly come out in the next kind of few weeks, maybe months. We'll have to wait and see how long the databases take to build. But I have got some in the pipeline. Again, though, do just let me know down in the comments if you want to see any more of these or of any ideas you may have. Also, guys, if you're looking forward to possibly seeing some more experiments, or you want to go and see some more content of my Stones Running Up save on the channel, do subscribe to the channel, and then you can keep up to date with everything that goes on at LS Plays FM. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you next time.